Well, it appears that the cat is out of the bag as experts are warning that the United States is not ready for World War III. If this is your first time here at the Daily Beltway, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell so you can stay up to date on all the latest breaking news. I don't even know why that these experts and all these people even put out there our military's readiness for World War III. It's like, okay, do we want our enemies to know that we're not ready, or we have a weak military, or we've got all the crazy wokeness going on and in our branches of the service? Why do they even put those reports out there? We want to perpetuate to the world that, hey, we're a strong military, we have the best in the world, the best of everything, and we're putting stuff out there like they're making guys wear PT belts when they're running around in Fallujah, and it's just wild, absolutely insane things. Like, who the hell would want China and Russia to know that our military is in a weakened state? But as the world is getting ready for World War III, Joe Biden's looking for answers, and so are we as American citizens. The war is heating up and over in Ukraine, and it looks like NATO might be ready to join it. And now we've got China set to invade Taiwan. And can America fight and wage a war on two separate fronts? I'm going to be reporting today with Red State, and it says the Heritage Foundation U.S. military is weak and unprepared for two regional conflicts at once. That is terrifying. America, well, actually, if we look at back in World War II, America was not ready for two conflicts. America wanted to have isolationist views. Nobody wanted to go out there and start duking it out with Japan on one side and Germany on the other. But you know what? They said, don't poke the sleeping bear or the sleeping giant, and they sure as hell did. And China should take a lesson from Japan. They're pretty close. I'm pretty sure there's some people that are still alive that can tell them what the results of messing with America happens to be. So we're going to get into the article today. It says, conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, issued a damning report Tuesday saying that the U.S. military is underfunded and has poorly defined priorities and would struggle to cope with more than one regional conflict. This becomes all the more concerning because tensions have grown with both China and Russia recently. Meanwhile, the Ukraine war drags on as we continue to provide vast sums in military aid. And what is it up to? Almost $15.6 billion so far going over to Ukraine. It's going to continue. This is the Wall Street Journal describes the purpose of the index. The index measures the military's ability to prevail in two major regional conflicts at once, say a conflict in the Middle East and a fight on the Korean Peninsula. The annual report called the Index of U.S. Military Strength found. And it states that, as currently postured, the U.S. military is at growing risk of not being able to meet the demands to defending America's vital national interests. It is rated as weak relative to the force needed to defend national interests on a global stage against actual challengers in the world, as it is rather than as we wish it here. This is the logical consequence of years of sustained use, underfunding, poorly defined priorities, while these shifting security policies, exceedingly poor discipline and program execution, and a profound lack of seriousness across the national security establishment, even as the threat of U.S. interests have surged. I will say, I think the next three nations under America combined still don't equal the total amount of money. It's like $790 billion a year goes towards our military and their spending in the budgets. And then there's also an untold amount of money that goes into black book projects for the CIA. Well, the CIA is self-funded. How they self-fund themselves, why don't you guys let me know in the comments on that? I think we have some good ideas, and I will be actually doing a video on that in the future. It's pretty wild, the stuff that those guys get into. But it's kind of weird. So Russia's going into war with Ukraine, and they have duct tape TomTom GPS devices attached to their helicopters and tanks so they know where it's going. And all it took to confound the military genius of Russia was the guys to knock down some street signs, so Russia had no idea where it was going. And I think China sat this one out because China, even though they have a pretty advanced Su-57 plane, I think that's Russia, whichever the two countries, they've only got like 12 of them. They only have like 12 fifth-generational warfare planes. I don't think they have anything besides a test plane that's gone over to Iran as far as a sixth-generational plane goes. In the meantime, the United States has got 400 or 500 fifth-generational, thousands of fourth-generational, and now we have, I think, 150 to 200. Please correct me because I'm going off of memory, and I read this a couple of weeks ago. Sixth-generational warplanes in there, meaning that nobody else has anything even close to what we have. And as far as like carrier strength goes, we could project force on a global scale that is unsurmounted in the history of the world. China, they don't even have a blue fairing, even though you see a lot of things on the news and whatever about China's boats going over. They don't have a big navy. They've got a lot of ships, but they're small frigates, single missile ships, things like that are not rated to go out to sea. And that is because the United States has done such a great job since World War II as far as keeping Japan as an ally, Guam, Taiwan, and quite a few other island states to keep to keep China kind of backed into a corner to where if they want to expand militarily into the Pacific, they have to build islands, they have to do other things, and that's where having a strong navy came in. So if you guys remember back, I think it was 2000 and it might have been 2012 when Romney and Obama were debating, and Obama's like, well, the 1910s call, they want their foreign policy back, and he was making fun of the United States needing a stronger navy. Well, yeah, we do need a stronger navy. We need an incredibly strong navy. But when it comes to force comparisons in the world, nobody's even close to what the United States has. We're going to get back into the article. But I want you guys to do your own research on this too. I mean, get out there and actually look at what the United States has. Look at the capabilities that China says that they have. But China is also like their stealth fighters are like the cheapest poor man's version of that and the biggest knockoff because they just steal all of our stuff. Even though Bill Clinton gave them the B-2 stealth bomber designs, I don't even think they can source the materials appropriately for that. So we're going to jump back over to the article. It says, in the aggregate, United States' military posture can only be rated as weak, the report concluded. Only the Marine Corps came out as unscathed, receiving a strong rating. I mean, the Marines, if the Marines ever got anything besides a strong rating, I think every Marine in the country, and if you're a Marine, let me know. I mean, you guys would probably walk over to Camp Lejeune and wherever else and go beat the heck out of some people and get them back into shape, because I don't think the Marines could ever be anything besides scary and intimidating as far as it goes on the battlefield. You know, when all else fails, attack, you know. But I will say that's one thing. So the Marines actually will teach you that too, is that the other militaries in the world are a top-down design system where, you know, if the North Korea's military officer dies, the unit is told to hold. And same thing with France too. They're taught if your officer dies, wait for a new officer and hold your position. In the United States, we teach the guys, if you have an opportunity and your officer dies, get out there and go kick some ass. Go have some fun. You know, if I'm wrong, tell me, but I know I'm not on this one, guys. Back me up in the comments. It says the Army received a marginal rating, especially with the recent wokeness. It says the Space Force and Navy were dubbed weak, while the Air Force earned the dubious label very weak, the Chair Force. But they're... I think this is in relative speaking to historical trends in the United States, because we can go out there and, I mean, they said that Iraq had the number 2 biggest, or one of the largest militaries in the world, and they had the most advanced Russian systems to date, and we disabled their entire air defense system in 48 hours and kicked the ever-loving snot out of everything that the Russia said, this is the best, nobody could ever do it, and we beat the snot into those. Oh, it was phenomenal. Absolutely. It says, at present, the Biden administration's proposed defense budget for fiscal year 2023 falls short of what the services need to regain readiness and to replace aged equipment. The report said, and Congress's intention to increase the proposed budget by 5% accounts for barely half of the current rate of inflation, which is nearing 10%. Accurate. But also the military-industrial complex is going absolutely bonkers spending money. I mean, they're paying $900 for a roll of toilet paper. I mean, I think if somebody went through that with a fine-tooth comb, they can save a lot of money. Like a hammer costs them $1,000. You know, they say it's cheaper for us to leave the guns in giant piles in Iraq when we left. And it was cheaper to do that than it was to buy new stuff. And I think Trump changed a lot of that. But again, correct me if I'm wrong. It says Representative Mike Gallagher, Republican out of Wisconsin, a member of the House Armed Services Committee member, told reporters on Tuesday, the particular problem that is, if you look at our priority theater in the Indo-Pacific, the 2 priority services are the Navy and the Air Force, and those seem to be the ones that are doing the worst. I fear as you look at the geopolitical environment, we are going to find ourselves in a competition with China or Taiwan within the next few years, if we continue down this path of naive disarmament. And it says, Representative Gallagher, we're going to go ahead and cut to this video real quick here.
Now, I'm a Marine, not a physicist, but Newton's first law of motion states that an object in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. And on February 24th, 2022, deterrence failed in Ukraine because, as Putin put his invasion plans into motion, President Biden repeatedly signaled that he would not put American hard power in Putin's way.
Because of his son Hunter Biden, Burisma, and all the scandals, Google, Biden brags about offering a bribe to Ukrainian officials. So there's a whole backstory with Biden and Ukraine and George Soros' involvement. And I actually did a video on George Soros and those guys. I think it might have been a short, but go ahead and look through the channel. It's on there talking about George Soros saying, oh, Biden's a big part of what's going on in Ukraine. And he was bragging about Biden's involvement in the billions of dollars that they were spending. Keep listening.
The president preemptively pulled American troops out of Ukraine, abandoned our embassy, sent our ships sailing out of the Black Sea, even seemed to greenlight a minor incursion. The administration went so far as to limit the pre-war transfer of defense equipment out of a fear that it might provoke Putin. Instead, the Biden administration largely relied on the threat of sanctions and sternly worded statements to deter Putin.
Sternly worded, bumbling statements. Hey, yeah, watch out! I'm telling you, man. Come on, man.
And deterrence disintegrated at the cost of tens of thousands of lives, hundreds of billions of dollars, and increasing threats of nuclear escalation.
So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is the United States military going in the right direction? Is it going in the wrong direction? Or is it kind of just on par with what we have? The article finished up saying, some will call this an alarmist and ask why the Pentagon can't do better on an $800 billion budget. The latter is a fair question, and the answer requires procurement and other changes, but the U.S. will also have to spend more on defense. Is it an alarmist statement to say that the United States is not ready for a World War III? And to be considered World War, you would have to have wars in two theaters, like the Pacific and Europe would both be considered a war. Or a third war, a third theater would open up in Africa, or God forbid, South America. China is spending a ton of money in South America. Watch that. Look at how much farmland and how many things those guys are buying in that South America. It's scary. And South America, as you guys know, is connected to the United States. But although they would never make it up here, I don't think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. And again, my name is Tom. I am reporting with the Daily Beltway. If it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button down below. We need help growing. We're still a new channel. I'm still learning. So if I screwed something up, let me know, guys. Have a great day.